Now, for more on Nigeria's third wave, or threatening third wave, and the threat of the Delta variant, joining us for more is Dr. Ejike Orji. He's the Chairman, Management Committee, Association for the Advancement of Family Planning. He's also an international development expert. We'd like to thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Millicent, for having me.
Let's start from the continent with the Africa CDC reporting the number of new cases being registered a day, by day, in the ongoing third wave, said to be higher than what was reported at the peak of the second wave. So essentially, mostly due to the Delta variant. I mean, do we know all there is to know about this variant and perhaps what we can do to stop it?
Yes, I would say there has been a lot of information already from other countries where this variant has been discovered. And one of the key things that we have been hearing is that is also the variant that the current vaccination that we have, especially the one that came to Nigeria, the AstraZeneca, is still able to protect people from it. I think that is a very heartwarming thing. Till now, there hasn't been any confirmed study that it's not working. So this is a good information for Nigerians who have been able to be vaccinated. And then one of the key things that I would say that I will have to give kudos to Nigeria is the fact that the NCDC is up in their game. They've been able to do the genome sequencing and discovered that this variant is already in Nigeria. And then I think, if you know, consistently, I have always advised that if we look at the viral diseases, the three main factors, you have to look at the biology, the transmission dynamics, and then most importantly, the human factor or the human behavior. And that's why the virus infections go up and come down. When people become careless, the transmission goes up. When they start obeying the non-pharmaceutical protocols, it comes down. And this is exactly what's going to happen. But the only difference here is that this particular strain is much more transmissible than the previous strains that we have, and also much more deadly. So I would say that, yes, we have enough information. And then for the fact that to have been able to declare that is here, and then all we need to do now is to ramp up our preparations and make sure we are ready for it. Because the normal thing that everybody will be afraid of is oxygen resources. See what happened in India. Because a lot of people feel that the disease even gets to the lungs before you know it. And then people will start desaturation as quickly as that comes to them. So the oxygen resources is one thing that I know. Just before the close of the second wave, the federal government was already ramping preparations to make sure that we have oxygen resources across the country. So we need to make haste and make sure that that is in place right now.
If one were to ask what population is most at risk for the Delta variant, which would you say?
Well, I would say it's still the same population before. The elderly, the people with comorbidities are much more, should I say, exposed, and they might be able to succumb to it. Even though now we're seeing it in younger age groups, but by and large, it's still the same group of population are the ones that we must make sure that we protect these things from. But there's no doubt that it's also now attacking younger age groups.
Yes, I was also going to mention, because, I mean, we saw a breakout in Ghana, also some countries, children under 12. But we also know that in terms of vaccination, that age range we don't know about some of the children. It has not been certified that they can be vaccinated. So essentially, how do we protect that age group with this mutating variant and highly transmissible variant?
It still goes down to what everybody has to reckon with, and that means being able to introduce the non-pharmaceutical protocols and make sure it's strictly adhered to. And I know that one of the key things people will be thinking now is how can children actually obey these things? And that means if they're in school, the level of exposure will be high, and the chances of contracting the disease will also be high. So what I will speak to that is, I think, is as we see, we deal with it. If any country feels that the young population is now at risk, I think the most important thing is to keep them out of the public space that will expose them to the disease, because it is very difficult to get children to comply. Adults are even finding it difficult to comply, how much less younger people. So this is one thing that everybody must have to grapple with right now. And the non-pharmaceutical methods, if we can do the vaccination, is the only way. And then in some extreme measures, the schools might have to be shut down, depending on how serious it is.
We'd like to thank you. Dr. Ejike Oji is the Chairman Management Committee Association for the Advancement of Family Planning, also an international development expert. We appreciate your time and expertise on the program.
Thank you, Millicent, for having me. Have a good day.